Hey guys, I'm Kira, and today you'll learn how to pronounce the word раньше, or earlier. Although this word is short, it packs a punch in terms of skills, so if you want to master it, you'll need to put some serious time into practicing it slowly, section by section, or else it'll fossilize and harden into a habit without the subtleties that make it sound Russian. If this has already happened to you, that is normal. Just decide to work on it over time and pause before you deploy it in speech. Also, this is the longest script I've ever written for a word by far, including достопримеча, which is saying something. So buckle up and hang on, the results are worth it. Let's start with the vowel ah and a good Russian default mouth position. Jaw slightly forward, tip of the tongue behind the bottom teeth, lips rounded and protruded. Ah, ah. The next sound is a soft N where the tongue is high and forward, as if pronouncing the vowel E. N, n. There's almost a hint of a Y sound in it, and you can check to see if you're in the right position by actually adding the vowel E. Ni, ni. Does yours sound like mine? If not, push your tongue further forward in your mouth, allowing the sides to come away from the upper molars, where native English speakers tend to anchor them. Ni, ni. Once you have a good ah and a good soft n, there's something very subtle and cool that happens when you put them together. Because the tongue has to move so dramatically from the ah position to the soft ni position, we can actually hear it happen in the ah vowel. Ein, 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 ein. When you first notice this, it's tempting to overdo it. Think back to when you learned the word for night. Ночь. The same type of low to high movement happens in this word, and it's so noticeable that beginners tend to say ночь in an attempt to reproduce what they're hearing. The thing to do in both of these cases is to allow the diphthong or change in vowel quality to happen rather than to force it, or in other words, not to overemphasize the change and to let it happen as late as possible. Ночь, ночь. Ночь, ночь. And ань, 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 ань. The next syllable is pretty straightforward, except the tongue is low and does come away from its default position behind the bottom teeth in order to pronounce the sh, and the ye sounds like a schwa. Sh. Sh. I say the tongue is low for the sound sh because it conveys the idea that the tongue is making lots of space in the mouth for a deeper sh sound rather than a shallower sh sound. But if I'm being perfectly precise, most of the tongue is low, but the tip is curved upward, not actually touching the roof of the mouth, but close to it, obstructing the flow of air enough to make the exhaled air audible. Sh, sh, sh. Sh. There are two more issues left to tackle in this word, and the first is one of the great secrets of Russian pronunciation that I don't believe I've ever heard anyone talk about. Sometimes when a soft consonant is followed immediately by a hard consonant, like soft n and hard sh, some of the softness of the soft consonant is eradicated as the tongue moves on to pronounce the hard consonant. In this case, when раньше is pronounced at the speed of normal conversation, the soft n will not release at all, meaning that the end of the sound is not produced. It's not раньше, but rather раньше, раньше. And while the tip of my tongue might have been able to remain somewhere behind my bottom teeth if the sh syllable were not there, as in the words грань, boundary, or дань, tribute, it can't remain there in this word. Instead, in anticipation of the sh, the tip of the tongue connects to the roof of the mouth during the ñ, but attempts to preserve the softness as much as possible with an internal high E position before moving immediately to sh. Let's try it. Bzo dang lips. A in sh. A in sh. Einsch. 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 Now all that's left is the R. Say the word ora really fast. Ora, ora. Say it again and feel the tongue flick against the roof of the mouth. Ora, ora. This tongue motion is exactly what we need for a flipped Russian R. Ora, ra. Ora, ra. If you have trouble with Russian R's, use ora to get a running start with our word. Here we go. Jo dan klips. Ora, раньше. Ora, раньше. 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 That's it, guys. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share my videos, suggest a word, and check out my video course at unlockingrussianpronunciation.org. And if you teach Russian and you like my videos, please consider tagging me on Instagram so your students can see them too. Счастливо!